Okay, the computer's saying I'm live. I'm going to do a double check just to make sure. Happy Wednesday. Welcome, 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 welcome. I hope you are having a good Wednesday. I'm in the East Coast. I'm on the East Coast. So the weather is like changing. Yay, it's working. The weather's changing like a lot. Like, okay, it's going to be summer soon, but I don't know. Some days it's spring, some days it's summer, and then sometimes it's more like fall. So, anyway, all right. So, welcome. The technology seems to be doing what it's supposed to do. Today, I'm talking about part three of this topic I've been doing, how burnout can happen even when things seem okay. So, today's topic, part three, is about being strong. And being strong being one of those patterns that can contribute to a spiral into burnout even without us knowing that we're spiraling into the burnout, right? So why could that happen? Let's think about it. When I'm talking about being strong, I'm talking about those situations where people often feel like they cannot express their emotions. So, and I'm thinking right now the workplace and clients who have said to me that if they cried at work or they had, they expressed some sadness or discomfort about something, they were told that they were too emotional. Um, and for some people, that means, oh, I have to stuff these emotions down and keep them in the background, never allow them to show up again. But let's think about that for a moment. If we shut our emotions down and we try to hold them back, let's think about what path that will take us on. First of all, emotions, actually one of the root words for emotion is emotere, which is which it literally means energy moving. And all of us who had an emotion probably would say, yes, we get that, right? Because the movement, right, that you feel inside of you is very real when you're having an emotion. It can be like fireworks bursting with booms and booms and booms. It could be like rain falling, pitter patter, pitter patter, pitter patter. It could even be just like a gentle breeze, right? But there's movement. So imagine what happens over time if you try to stuff this movement, try to hold it back. Now, the truth is that these emotions that we feel inside of us originate inside of us. They're a part of our inner wisdom, they're part of our superpower. So if we hold them back, we literally can reach a point where we're holding back our sense of self, we're holding back our own authenticity, and we're not allowing ourselves to be who we really are. I'm never suggesting that you're going to like scream and shout, right? Or you're going to just fall on the floor uh, crying in your office uh, for everybody to see, right? That's not the point, right? The point is that our emotions are like precious jewels, and some of them are a little bit rougher than others, some of them are a little bit more smooth, but they're our jewels. And we can use these jewels to actually help us to accelerate and advance our careers, to advance the impact we want to have. If we shut them down, then we actually shut ourselves off from one of our inner power sources. So let's still think about why somebody would choose to shut their emotions down. What are the reasons, right, that somebody might opt for this pattern? So, one is that you could be in a discipline where showing your emotions is considered to be weak or a sign of incompetence. I know that somebody, when I posted about this event, one of the people talked about being in the STEM industry where it's often code for you don't behave like the men we're used to seeing lead. And so that means you're weak. You don't have the capacity to be a leader. So that's one thing. This whole idea that you emotions suggest you're weak. That's something I actually did a retreat for a group of women years ago. And that was one of the things that they were dealing with is this whole idea that if I show my emotions, if I start to cry about what's going on in my life, It's like I'm breaking down. And these were women who were actually in a group, a support group. And I was for the person, their therapist asked me to come and provide a retreat for them. So here they are trying to get assistance and still holding back their emotions, right? So this tells you that we can actually learn this pattern pretty early in life. So the second thing that call us might cause us to choose this pattern is that showing your emotions is okay for some people, but not others. And we know that lack of fairness is also one of those workplace environmental issues that can increase the likelihood of burnout. So I'll give you an example from my experience. Uh, I worked in a place where there was a guy who was just, he could get angry about something. He would bang on somebody's door, um, yelling outside of their door, right? I saw him do this a few times. I was like, whoa, right? But this guy ended up getting like one of the best promotions, right? Like skipped over a bunch of levels and got, you know how there's like middle management and upper management. He moved right, right into upper management. So you might be in an environment where somebody looks at you and says, you're not allowed to be angry or to show your emotions in the workplace. It's not acceptable from you, but it's acceptable from someone else. So you choose this option of holding yourself back or attempting to hold your emotions down because you know it won't be accepted. Now, another reason, and I share this with you from my personal experience as a Black woman, from reading about Black women's health and studies about Black women's mental health, is this whole idea that you may feel some shame or guilt about being upset or feeling sad about not getting promotion or not thinking your talents aren't being recognized. And you look at your ancestors and you say, well, what I'm dealing with right now, my bills are more than paid. I take lovely vacations. I can actually take time off if I want to. I got this good life. And I'm complaining about a job when my grandmother had to work 3 and 4 jobs just to be okay in the world, right? So the third pattern could be this sort of sense of, I actually have gotten past a lot of things and I've done well and I'm complaining. And my ancestors didn't complain about these things. They did their best to navigate it and then they got with their God, right? So you might feel a sense of shame or guilt around having emotions at work, feeling like you, you should not, you don't have the privilege to do that. That's just not your work. You're welcome, right? That's just not acceptable because look what your grandmother went through. Look what your grandfather went through, right? Look at all the things they had to navigate in the world. And you don't have to do any of that, right? So you might hold back because of this kind of, some people might call it survival guilt, but what it is this sort of combination of maybe a combination of guilt and shame, or maybe one or the other. Here's the thing about that: guilt and shame live in that place in the nervous system where we shut down. Like that place in the nervous system where guilt and shame live, it's like the place that makes us like collapse into nothingness. And it can get us caught in a loop between fight and flight, or I can't fight this thing anymore. I'm just gonna collapse and try my best, right? So then you disconnect and you've lost your authentic self. And then the last one, right, is related to this whole idea of silencing yourself. When you opt for this, one of the things that happens is, again, like this shutting down, you've actually opted to silence your core, right? You are silencing your inner wisdom. You're silencing these gems that can come through you through these emotions. Some of those emotions are rough gems, some of them are smooth gems, some of them are faceted, right? But they're your gems. And so now you've chosen to shut yourself off because, right? And you've lost because of whatever the messages are in your environment or the messages in your head, and you start to lose your sense of self. So this pattern of cutting yourself off also silences yourself. There's a researcher, want to remember her name, Dana Crawley Jack, who wrote about this idea of silencing the self. And there's a book called Shifting, which is about Black women navigating race, class, and sexism in the classism and sexism in the workplace. And this silencing of the self was defined as one of the symptoms of depression among Black women. And this is the time that the book was written. It wasn't really something that psychotherapists would really look for when you think about depression. People often think of depression as, oh, I lost something outside of myself. But literally, depression can also be this loss of you. So this choice to hold your emotions back and to appear strong, maybe, right, will be one could be one of those factors that silences yourself, right? Now, the other reason that I want to say about this silencing yourself and this like you don't speak up because it's not acceptable for you is that you might also be living in a place where you're stereotyped to be the strong one. And I would say, as a Black woman, I've been stereotyped to be the angry Black woman, right? And so if I'm the angry Black woman, I don't really have any other feelings. And so it's not acceptable for me to be sad because people are always expecting that whatever I feel is going to turn into some outburst or some, harshness toward other people. But in truth, there is a challenge that I'm trying to deal with that may be hurting me. And people just aren't willing to listen because they're caught in a stereotype. So then some people in that situation, they may opt to actually try to hold their emotion. Now, what's happening is people are looking at them and saying, again, this person is harsh, they're angry, but inside, this person's really having, is feeling despair. Thelma Bryant uh, talks about this. I think her last name is, I'll put her name in it. She was a recent president of AP, American Psychological Association. Thema Bryant, that's her name. So this silencing of the self, eventually, again, these are symptoms of burnout. But if you silence yourself, you might not even notice that you're spiraling into burnout, right? Because now you've cut yourself off from your own messages. You cut yourself off from your own inner wisdom. And if that's the case, it's going to be difficult to advance your impact anyway. Excuse me. So let's just think for a moment about how to begin to heal this process, the start, because this is one of those challenges. Depending upon like these 4 or 5 different things I just listed about why people might, right? You can see those are not easy challenges to deal with. So these are challenges where you need some support. And the first thing you want to start to do is just to reconnect with you, to reconnect with knowing that your emotions are a part of your authentic inner wisdom. And that wisdom inside of you is always there to help you be your best in the world, give your best to what you want, and to seed your desires in ways that light your heart up, that light your soul up. So I would say first, if you feel like you're holding back, I highly recommend that at least once a day, you take some time and you sit down and you actually write about what it is that you're holding back and why you're holding it back, because you want to try to begin to uncover this. I also recommend that you get some support. This is not a thing to go along alone because, as I said, there are just so many complex reasons. And at the root of any behavior is a belief. I will tell you that when I burned out, one of the things in the back of my mind was, oh my God, this project is falling apart and I'm supposed to be helping people. I'm supposed to be helping to make the world better. You see, I come from this culture, right? Where this is what my ancestors were about. Like it was literally like this message you get by osmosis, growing up with Martin Luther King Jr.'s birth home in your neighborhood school backyard, right? It's like change the world for the better. And then I was like, oh God, I'm doing this project trying to change the world for the better. It's been almost 2 years. This thing's gonna fall apart. And so there was this part of me that was like, I'm not contributing to the good. So contributing to the good is admirable. Like we all want to do that. It's what, but when I turn it around and turn it against myself as though I'm a failure, right? Then that's when it becomes problematic. So I had to learn to shift myself out of that pattern, right? And that took some work. That took some work. That took some coaching. That took some support system. That took people who listen to you. All those things, right? So the first thing is to just begin to re-tap your inner wisdom, and you can do that by just simply writing about what's going on to see if you can start to uncover what's the main drive for you to stay in this pattern. Now it goes without saying, maybe it does, but so if it doesn't, I'm going to say it, that if you're in a workplace where you feel you have to hold yourself back, that workplace is not benefiting you in some way. So, is there anybody in that place that you can really talk with about what you're feeling and how, and ways that you can actually express your voice more? Um, and then the third thing is, here's what I like to say about emotions. Like I just described them as rough, as smooth, right? And so we know that sometimes you need something rough, right? Like if you are, there's something that's got to be scraped away, something rough is going to scrape it away. A smooth thing isn't going to help you. So, what could this rough emotion be trying to help you smooth out, right? So, you want to make friends with your emotions. I actually have this little um, PDF called How to Make Friends with Your Emotions. And if you'd like it, you can just comment. You just put your name, or you can direct message me or put a comment. Hey, I want that How to Make Friends with Your Emotions sheet, one page sheet you talked about, Sandra. Please tell me I can get it, and I'll put the information in the chat for you. If you feel like you want to actually chat with somebody about that, you can also just DM me. We can talk about this whole idea of your emotions. I will say this, I have grown to love my emotions. They still aren't always easy, but they are always useful. They are always helpful. They always move me to a better place. So I'm just going to check and see if anybody has any questions or comments. That's what I want to share with you today because I don't want you to burn out. And more than not wanting you to burn out, I actually want you to be purpose driven and to live making the difference that matters to you. So if you got comments or questions, type 'em. I can see one person like type me something over here. But if there's something else, let me know. I'm going to check on my other feed to see if I see any questions. Because sometimes they don't always show up. So let me just look and see. Okay. No, no questions over there. But as I said, I am here for you and I am here for your emotions. All right. So I am going to close it out for today and I will see you. I think actually we're doing a panel presentation. My burnout colleagues and I are doing a panel presentation in a couple of weeks. So I will see you then and reach out to me anytime. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.